Okay, Chair.
Thanks. Okay, bore da pawb and croeso I cyfarfod cynllunio. Good morning, welcome to the Planning Committee on the 12th of January 2022. So first thing to say is blwyddyn newydd da, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everyone has had a nice Christmas and New Year and isn't too depressed by the current situation around the country and the world. Okay, as I was just mentioning to members before we went on to webcast, but I'll mention it just on the webcast as well, so those that are joining us know that I'm at home. Usually I'm in the council chamber as chair, and I'm at home as I currently have COVID. Therefore, if there is a slight delay in any of the things, then please just bear with us. We may have a 5-minute pause because my internet at home isn't the best in the world. So there may just be a slight 5-minute break or anything, but please bear with us. We will clearly obviously spend the correct amount of time and energy and effort on making sure every single decision is come to appropriately. Okay, so I will bring in the legal officer first, just to go through the declarations of interest. So I can see Tim is there in the chamber. So Tim, can I bring you in now just to go through that?
Diolch. Thank you, Chair. Bore da, good morning, members. Members will be aware of the requirements under the Council's Code of Conduct to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any business to be considered at today's meeting. Such interest should be declared now or as soon as the councillor affected becomes aware that they have a personal or prejudicial interest in today's business. All members declaring an interest are required to state clearly what the interest is and to advise whether it is a personal interest or indeed a personal and prejudicial interest as defined in the Code of Conduct. Any member declaring a prejudicial interest is required to leave the meeting for the duration of the business and take no part in the proceedings. Members with a personal interest only may take part in the debate and any vote. If a personal and prejudicial interest is declared today that has not previously been disclosed and recorded, the councillor concerned will be required to complete and sign a declaration of interest form, which is available from the committee support staff. Diolch. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll come to declarations of interest in just a moment. So first item on the agenda is apologies. I've had apologies from councillors Alan Hughes and councillor Mervyn Parry. Do we have any other apologies? If you want to unmute and just say. Okay, so we will go into declarations of interest again. If you just unmute and if you have any declarations of interest, please unmute now and speak. Okay, so going through onto agenda item number 3. Again, with the declarations of interest, if anything comes up that you're aware of during the meeting, then just tell us as soon as possible. Agenda item number 3, urgent matters as agreed by the chair, don't have any. So then we're going to go through the minutes of the meeting from the 15th of December 2021. So that's agenda item 4. So that is on pages 7 to 18 of our reports. So if we just go through that a page at a time, if at any point there's something you just want to mention, then again just unmute and start speaking, and hopefully we will get that. Okay, so we're on page 7 of the reports now in the English. Okay, then on page 8, looking at the application 5, page 9, application 6, and then the start of application 7, page 10,
Page 10.
Yes, go on, Gwyneth.
I think it's just a typo. It's natural resources, not.
Oh yeah, recourse. Yeah, yeah. It's about halfway down the page. Yeah, I should say resources, not recourse. Well spotted.
Well, it's only to prove I've read them.
Yeah. Okay, so that's on page 10. On page 11.
Chair, can I come
yes,
in?
Councillor Christine.
Top of the page, it's about the 5th line down, Councillor Christine. It should read Councillor Christine Marston. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. So just need the surname on there on page 11. So that's page 11, which moves on to agenda item 8, which is then on pages 12 and 13 and 14. And then page 15, application number 9. Page 15, again, application 10. And then page 16, application 11. Page 17 was applications 12 and 13. And then page 18 was the final page. So can I have somebody propose that those minutes are correct? Diolch Gwyneth, and then seconded by Councillor Julian Thompson-Hill. Thank you. Okay, so as always, we will just say, unless there's any dissenting voices, then we will assume that those minutes are a true and accurate record of the meeting on December the 15th. So just give anyone a couple of seconds to unmute and say anything. Okay, so we're happy that those are a true and accurate record. Just before we go into the items, do officers want to come in and say anything? I can see you, Paul, so if you shake your head, yeah, I can see both Pauls, so if you shake your heads, that's fine. You're on my screen at the moment. Okay, so we'll start off, as we know, with the blue sheets. The applications sometimes run in a slightly different order, and they obviously will do today as well. We can see it's agenda item 6, then 7, then 5, just because of the public speakers that we have. So we're starting off with agenda item number 6, which is on page 53 of our reports. So if we just go through that. So page 53, the ward is LLANRHAEADR and Hinmech. The ward member is myself, Councillor Joe Welch. The application number is 23/2021/0852/PF. The proposal is the erection of 6 holiday accommodation units, site office and associated works, and it's an amended scheme. The location is the land at the lodge, LLANRHAEADR DENBIGH LL16 4NL. And we do have a public speaker on this item, which is Mr. Andrew Sumner. And I did see that he was in the meeting beforehand. So Andrew, when you are ready, you will have 3 minutes to address the committee. And as you will know, we are quite strict on that. So I will be timing it. And then whenever you start, I'll time the stopwatch and I'll tell you when your 3 minutes is up. And this is a public speaker for, there is no public speaker against, and Andrew Sumner is the agent on behalf of this application. So when you're ready, Andrew, off you go.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today in support of this application. Our client's scheme for 6 bespoke cabins will provide high quality holiday accommodation. And I'm sure that you will find that they will complement other activities on the lodge site and in the village by bringing visitors who will also use the public house and visit the church and well and spend their money locally and support local employment of local people. I'm aware that previous proposals for this site, you mentioned them, Councillor, have met with some concerns, mainly with regard to the effect of the development on the historic landscape setting. CADU in particular expressed concern about this effect on the former parkland of LLANRHAEADR Hall. As a result of their views, we've altered the design to avoid these adverse impacts. In fact, the proposal now put forward by our client is one that has been laid out in discussion and agreement with CADU's Historic Parks and Gardens landscape inspector. Our scheme sets out to conserve some of the historic landscape features that lie within our client's site and to incorporate them into the design so that the former Ha-Ha, park wall and an area of woodland are restored, and a former path through the woodland, which was once an avenue, is reinstated as a link from the former LLANRHAEADR Gatehouse Lodge, now the clothing shop and restaurant, to the Dingle and St Dovnog's Well and the church, which uses a tunnel under the old road. There is a synergy between our project and the scheme to conserve the Dingle and the well basin. We're sure that together the lodge and the cabins and the conserved well will help to support the life and vigour of the village and community of LLANRHAEADR. I commend this scheme to you because it represents a considerable investment for our client, which will help to support the historic fabric of the village, support biodiversity, and contribute a little to tourism, sustaining the viability of local public transport, increasing footfall in the King's Head and in local shops. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do officers want to come in with anything on this? Happy to go to the local member. Okay, the local member is me. Yeah, so this scheme, as the agent has said, has been amended. So I was at it's been submitted a couple of times. It was submitted and then withdrawn last year, and it's been amended a few times. So if I just give you a little bit of background from my point of view, this is obviously as local member, that the community council, even though in the actual documentation it says they object because it wasn't part of the LDP, they obviously have commented previously on the previous schemes, but they rightly haven't been included in this because it was for a previous scheme. But just to give you a bit of context on that, it was a split decision within the community council, and that's actually quite rare. They're a community council that quite often agree on everything. So they were, whilst they did I think the last consultation was 3 against and 2 for. The previous consultation it was 3-3 at the community council, so it is quite split within the community. The ones that are for it are obviously, as Andrew Sumner has said, looking at the diversity of the business and looking at the employment and helping out the local business. And the ones that are against it, you know, there's some valid reasons that they have there. If I just, a couple of the questions that I have for officers are, and I think they are answered in the report, but just for clarity, that would be useful from my point of view. How do we mitigate against this becoming a housing development, because they are quite permanent structures rather than just static? So how do we stop in 10 years time, you know, them saying, oh, actually the climate's changed in the world, and actually we just want these to be 6 little houses now, and they'll pay council tax and won't everyone be happy? But obviously that wouldn't be in line with our policy. So just how do we stop that? The conservation officer had quite a few comments. I think they've all been met in the conditions, but can we just confirm that? And then just it's always a bit confusing for myself, the policy PSE 12. It sort of says no statics or holiday areas, and this sort of seems a little bit like when we had last week. So can we just confirm why we're not using policy PSE 12? And then if we are looking at policy PSE 5, which is about the rural economy, I see that I know there's the condition 21, but I would like to propose that if we are thinking of granting this one, that we have an additional condition which just ties it to the business at the lodge. And I know I did speak to Paul Griffin yesterday afternoon about this, and we have drawn up a potential condition which basically ties it so that it can't be sold as a separate entity, because part of the reason, I believe, obviously the business case is confidential, but my understanding with the business case is that this is to ensure that, you know, if anything like COVID happens again, that if the lodge and the restaurant itself can't run, then the holiday lodges might be able to be running, and it would help out the business by diversifying. And therefore, my understanding would be that if the whole entity was kept together, then that would possibly alleviate some people's fears that it would just be, you know, instead of them getting the permission, then it just gets sold off as a separate business. That wouldn't be in line with what we're thinking as the planning application. So if I will just read out the condition that we have in mind, and it would be: the development hereby approved shall remain as part of the same planning unit as the lodge, as shown edged blue on the location plan, which is the drawing received on the 13th of October 2021, and shall not be sold off as a separate planning unit. And the reason for this is for the avoidance of doubt and to ensure a degree of control is maintained over the use of the land. So that would be something that I would propose for this. So that's my comments. Thank you very much. Do officers want to come in on those points now? Or
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I'll just come back to you on a couple of those points that you raised. Mitigating against it becoming a housing site, well, that in itself would require planning permission. So if they chose to use it as a housing site without consent, that'd be a breach of planning, which we'd have to enforce against. But they could apply for the change of use to permanent residential, and we would deal with that application under the existing policies at that time, that's such application. So this shouldn't be, that concern shouldn't prejudice this decision effectively. We would deal with any potential change of use to housing in the correct process if that became an issue. Just to confirm, yeah, as I understand it, the Conservation Officer is happy with the proposal now. The impacts on the conservation area and the other heritage assets in that have been agreed and accepted by Conservation Officer and Cadw Historic Parks. And then this issue of PSE 12 and PSE 5. PSE 12 is quite specific in that it says no static caravans. And then we've got supplementary planning guidance that expands upon what that means, and it uses the definition of a static caravan, and anything that falls within that definition we would be saying no to. In this instance, we don't feel that the proposed lodges fall within the definition of a caravan, and therefore they wouldn't fall within that preventative section of PSE 12. So PSE 12 wouldn't stop non-movable accommodation from coming forward. PSE 12 only stops static caravans. So, and similarly, we go on to PSE 5, which then, because these sort of lodges aren't referred to specifically within PSE 12 because they're not movable and they're not touring caravans and they're not camping sites, so they're permanent development. So we would then look at PSE 5, which essentially says if the impacts of a proposal that would be beneficial to the rural economy are acceptable, we can support it, so provide all of the material planning considerations are met. And I think that, you know, obviously you've alluded there to the fact that part of their justification is that it will assist the existing business at the lodge to remain viable. So I think that the condition we've discussed yesterday evening, we can attach that as you've proposed if members wish to. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, do we have any other comments on this? I can see Councillor Maida Davis. Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's people within the members who can vote first. I've got Gwyneth. Gwyneth, do you want to come in?
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you very much.
With your proposed condition, Joe, and from past experience, there's nothing to stop the applicant coming forward in, let's say, a few years and saying this is not financially viable and that we have to sell these off separately or something like that. That's just one observation. And the second is there is quite a development at the former Bryn Morfydd Hotel, isn't there? Do you not think that there is perhaps over-intensification of this type of development? Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch. Yes, yeah, officers did mention to me that obviously that with it, like with any planning condition, this could be, it could come forward and say that, but at least it would be there and then it would be another discussion to be had. But yes, it is obviously something that members should bear in mind that they could obviously apply to have that taken off. And yeah, that's a very, very good point. Probably one I did forget to ask officers of with regards to the Bryn Morfydd. That is a very large number and obviously not that far away from this development. There is obviously information in the report, but do officers want to add anything else on that with regards to the Bryn Morfydd planning?
Thank you, Chair. I think we just reiterate what's in the report, to be honest. Yes, there's a permission in place for 90 units at the Bryn Morfydd. members would have to satisfy themselves if they wish to object to this proposal that an additional 6 on a separate site with a different business model, whether that would lead to an over-concentration. I think the percentage increase across in that area is probably very limited to go from 90 to 96. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Cynghorydd Mary-Claude Davis.
Mr. Mary-Claude Davis. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Very kind of you. Just in order for me to know, why aren't you going for section 106 to bind the shop to the what's in front of us today? You usually use 106 with farms. Is there any reason why not to do so? And the other thing, I was trying to find the sewage pipe that goes through the site according to the to Welsh Water, Dod Cymru, but I'm unable to see it on the plan. Thank you.
Okay, Diolch. Do officers want to come in on those 2 points?
I think in this instance, given the wording of the condition that we're proposing and its intention, we've considered that a legal agreement wouldn't be necessary in this instance, and that we feel that following advice from Welsh Government that you use a condition where it's appropriate. You don't use legal agreements if a condition would suffice. So we're reasonably confident that this particular condition would stand the test, and that would cover, that would serve the purpose we want. Regarding the position of the sewage pipe, well, I think there's an issue there that obviously they've got to come to an agreement with Welsh Water before they start working site. So that sits outside of the planning process at this point. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Diolch, thank you. Councillor Mark Young.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and apologies I was slightly late at the beginning. Just confirmation in case I've missed it. Can it be used 12 months a year, or is it restricted? And then can I come back when I've had that answer, please, Chair?
Yeah, thank you. Officers.
Thank you. Yeah, in line with current advice from Welsh Government, we've not restricted it. It can be used all year round. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for that. And with looking at the conditions and the condition the Chair's made, I'm happy to move that we accept with the extra condition what the Chair's come up with. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so that's a proposal to grant. Do we have a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Melvin Mile. Thank you. Good to see you. Okay, do we have any other comments on this? Okay, if not, then I think we can go to the vote. We've had the proposal, we've had the seconder. This would be with the additional condition that I read out, and Mark has, Councillor Mark Young has proposed that we put on. So if we are all happy, then we will go to the vote with this. And again, I will. Tim, you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, so we're all clear on this, just to make sure that it's there's a proposal in support of the officer's recommendation with the additional condition that was ironed out just before with yourself, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So we'll go through the names. And again, this will be, if you vote for, then it will be to grant planning permission in accordance with officer recommendation, or you can vote against, to go against, or you can obviously vote to abstain. Okay, so if I go through the names and the list, and just make sure you're ready, it'll be in alphabetical order. So Councillor Joan Butterfield.
For.
For, thank you. Councillor Ellie Chard.
For.
Councillor Ann Davis.
I lost the volume, so I haven't heard all the debates, Mr. Chairman, so I'll abstain, please.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Councillor Gwyneth Ellis.
O blaid.
For.
Diolch. Councillor Peter Evans.
For.
Thank you. And Cynghorydd Alan Hughes is absent. Councillor Brian Jones.
Abstain.
Okay. Councillor Tina Jones.
For.
Cynghorydd Gwyneth Kensler.
Matal.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Melvin Mile.
4.
Councillor Christine Marston,
Sorry. Abstain.
thank you. Councillor Bob Murray,
4.
Councillor Mervyn Parry is absent. Councillor Pete Prendergast,
4.
Councillor Peter Scott,
4.
Councillor Tony Thomas,
4.
Councillor Julian Thompson Hill,
4.
Councillor Joe Welch, 4. Cynghorydd Emrys Wyn,
O blaid.
4.
and Councillor Mark Young.
4.
Thank you. Okay, we have, unless the officers in the chamber are going to correct me in a moment, we've got 14 votes for, we have no against, and we have 4 abstentions. Therefore, that application has been granted in accordance with officer recommendation with the additional planning condition attached. Okay. Right, we will move on to agenda item 7, which is on page 95 of our reports. And the ward is St Asaph West. The ward member is Councillor Peter Scott. The application number is 46/2019/0806/PO. The proposal is the development of 0.75 hectares of land for residential purposes. It's an outline application including the access. The location is Bod HAULOG, the row St Asaph LL17 OLY. And we do have a speaker on this one. So the officer recommendation is to refuse on this one, and this one's been brought to committee by the local member. We don't have a public speaker against, we just have a public speaker for, which is a Gwyn Davis, the agent. So when you are ready, Gwyn, you will have 3 minutes to address the committee. And I will just start the timer, and then please keep it within 3 minutes. Thank you. So when you're ready, off you go.
I was muted, was I?
Oh, yes, you were. I knew you were there. I've seen you before.
Okay.
Yes. So start again, yep.
Here goes. The single issue here is flood risk. NRW's responses to the council have been based on interpretation of the TAN that are unreasonable and extreme. Also, NRW have ignored an important section of our flood consequence assessment, and it does not take an engineer to appreciate its significance. Even where settlements are situated behind NRW's own flood defence structures, they seem intent on putting any obstruction in the way of development. There are 2 aspects to flood risk. Firstly, flood risk on the site. Rather than following a reasonable interpretation of TAN 15, that the site would be flood-free by virtue of the new St Asaph flood defences, as your officer's addendum report of yesterday notes, we have complied with NRW's requirement to assess flood risk against failed flood defences. This is with a breach the size of a juggernaut in the worst possible location. We have raised site levels where necessary, which is not everywhere, so that when breached defences lead to flood water being between 1 metre and 1.4 metres deep from the river and along the row, all dwellings, gardens and driveways remain flood-free. Secondly, the consequence of development to flood risk elsewhere. Flood modelling demonstrates if new buildings obstruct floodwater flow, leading to deeper floodwater elsewhere. NRW's report to the council only comments on half our report on this. NRW's objections are based entirely on one flood modelling analysis, the most elementary, based on the site being treated as a greenfield site with no obstructions. So by that test, new houses would obstruct floodwater, leading to slightly raised floodwater on the row and back to the river. But it's not a greenfield. It has high walls enclosing much of it and running through it. NRW have failed to address the alternative detailed analysis, which takes these into account. In response to your officer's addendum report yesterday, 1, our point is not that the boundary wall already increases off-site risk. TAN 15 requires us to establish consequence by comparing flood flow before and after development. Our point is that the walls exist so that they contribute to flood flow pattern now, and so that they are relevant to the comparison. That analysis shows, as you would expect, that when you remove some walls, which we propose, there is less resistance to floodwater entering and passing through the site. So the floodwater level in the row and upstream would drop. 2, that the walls have stood since 1875 and withstood the 2012 floods proves their integrity. 3, the walls are surveyed, so the more detailed the data, the more accurate the analysis. You cannot rely on half an account and one which fails to acknowledge the facts on the ground, and NRW's comments should therefore be set aside.
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Diolch.
Okay. So there is quite a lot of information on the blue sheets, which obviously you got yesterday afternoon / evening. So we'll just it will be quiet for a couple of moments just to give you a little bit of time to read that through, because again, I think this application, as this agent said there, and I think as the local member will say and the officers will say, is around sort of one issue really. So there's quite a lot of information about that issue on the late sheet. So please just give a couple of minutes to read through that. So it will just be quiet for a moment and to give you a chance to read that as we would do in the chamber. And then I'll come back. What is it? Yes, it's 10:03, so 10:05, just a minute to look through those. So we've all had a fair chance to make sure we can see that documentation. Okay, obviously you can continue reading that just as we go through a little bit. This was subject to a site visit last Friday. So just before I bring in the local member, if anyone, there was the Vice Chair, Councillor Christine Marston was there, Councillor Ellie Chard and Councillor Maidy Floyd Davis. So if any of you would like to come in before I bring in the local member and just comment on the site visit, that would be useful for members. So if any of you want to come in.
Chair, can I come in, please?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, we attended the site visit. Didn't really appreciate what a large garden adjoining my house is. You know, I've driven past that sort of area for many, many years and never appreciated what a large garden it was. 1.8 acres with a collection of horticultural buildings which have fallen into decline. It is a large open site. The only area we couldn't access was to the northwest between Pine Lodge and Class Captain, which was too overgrown to sort of access. We took in the site, the impact of the development on the neighbouring residential properties, and took in obviously the appreciation that the site backs onto the school playing field. We also tried to appreciate how the ground level would have to be raised due to requirements of legislation. So yeah, it was a very useful site visit, and sort of took in the general sort of geography of the area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Cynghorydd Mary Clwyd Davis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I also walked through the wet grass on that day, and it is a very special site. The land is within St Asaph boundary and within the county's current plan. National Resources Wales, in this instance, use an argument that doesn't hold water, that stating that there will be no room for flooding over the flooding water should these houses be built by raising the land of the level of the land is incorrect and unfair. As we have heard from the architect previously, if their argument is used each time, it's not possible to build or place a car on the floodwater on the land because of the land, or the level of the land. They've raised a bank to retain the river, which obviously takes up land that would have been a space for the water to flow over and standing water. It appears that they haven't responded to the architect's view. They have inspected, as you have heard, and they have tested and proved in their view that everything is correct, and what's suggested by the authority, by the water authority, it would not happen. I wonder whether the reservoir should be able to accept the water. I don't know whether that would answer the question, but of course the land has to be raised, otherwise the houses will be submerged in the water should the bank fail. I suppose that they have done their homework now to keep the water back. If they dredge the river at some point, that would obviously help. I suspect the statement is extreme now at this point, and I feel that you should allow this planning with conditions attached, of course. Thank you very much.
Councillor LHR, you're also on the. If we could just make sure it's just if you want to speak after, you can, but this should just be focused on the site visit.
Yeah, just the site visit. I was really surprised, like Christine, on the size of this garden. Beautiful, and I listened to everything, and I know that the properties are going to be heightened because of the levels, and yes, I myself think it should go ahead, and I was very pleased that I did go on the site visit, and yes. And I was very surprised on the size of the garden, but it's absolutely massive. And as Christine said, it's nearly 2 acres in size. And yes, I'd go and propose it, but I'm awaiting Peter Scott, the local member, to speak. Okay, thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you. Okay, just before I bring in the local member, do officers want to come in on any points? I can't see you on my screen, so you're just going to have to say yes or no.
I think we'll wait to the end there, if that's okay, Chair. Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Okay, so we'll bring in the local member, Councillor Peter Scott.
Thank you, Chair. It made me completely more nervous than I was now, waiting for Peter Scott's report, but here we go. Thank you, Ellie. This is a major application for housing on a brownfield site in a built-up area which only had 5 letters of public comment or objection. When applications of this size usually lead to no end of public objection and adverse publicity, this is a very rare instance and should be grasped. There is a real need for housing, particularly for young families and key workers, and this site is only 150 metres from the A55, is ideal for that, with the most direct access to workplaces along the entire North Wales coast. There is a danger of jeopardising an opportunity to enable provision of much needed housing because of paying too much heed to NRW's comment, where they split hairs about marginal increases in floodwater in an event where floodwater along the row and back to the river would probably be between 1 metre and 2.5 metres deep in a 1 in 1,000 year probability event, all because NRW's own defences have failed. Flood defences are essential to maintaining vibrant and sustainable communities. If these flood defences always had to be considered in a failed state, then all forms of development would just about be impossible to work. If NRW stands for it to be accepted outright, with the merest rise above 5 millimetres of change in floodwater level outside the site being cause for them to object to development, the same fate would befall swathes of land in other settlements within Denbighshire situated behind flood defences, i.e. Rill, Prestatyn, Ruthin, Rydland, Corwen. This in turn would put at risk the country's strategy for maintaining viable and sustainable communities. If the council were to accept NRW's position without challenge, then the need to apply breach and blockage as a norm would jeopardise the council's aspirations for many communities situated behind flood defence. I've said that once. The result would be blighted communities, would overturn all the council's aspirations for those settlements, including the provision of housing within them. NRW's responsibility is to provide technical advice. It is the council's to interpret the advice, consider policy and make decisions. The ASAPH Flood Relief Scheme received funding from Welsh Government on the basis of a robust business case. That business case was predicated on the assumption of the flood defence would be designed and maintained for 100 years. And that business case gave NRW a long-time commitment to deliver. Planning officers have been known to recommend approval of planning permission against the objections at NRW. We ourselves granted permission for LLANDRILLO College in Rill to develop their site, which is in a flood zone and doesn't have flood defences as ASAPH does. There are negative economic and social consequences if investment in existing urban areas is denied. Brownfield sites within settlements behind defences cannot be condemned, leading to a wider area of city being blighted. The officer's report on consultation responses notes the results of the one, which is a bare earth modelling that NRW have commented on, increased steps in the 1 in 1,000 year probability, where without taking into account the analysing factoring in existing site walls, there would be a rise between 100 millimetres and 150 millimetres in floodwater levels. This would be when the floodwater in the row and back towards the river would in any case be between 1 metre and 2.5 metres in deep overall. NRW are saying that the tolerable limits for increased flood depth is 5 millimetres. It hardly seems relevant when the flood defences are assumed to have failed and ASAPH would be in that kind of extreme flood. The flood report shows that in the event that the HAULOG site would only be under 370 millimetres of water and the houses are all in less than 370 millimetres water. The point is that NRW must protect the remainder of ASAPH from the flood. Contrary to the officers summing up the report and in detailed maps illustrated that the development would not lead to flooding elsewhere, they've sent us a map and all the levels are between what they've requested for NRW 13.2 and 13.8. On the map, you will see there is also garden and general landscape areas, combined surface water management corridors and retention swales, sustainable surface water drainage retention beam basin, areas of wetland planting, sustainable surface water drainage swales, which takes the water away properly, and wildlife margins in hedging and ground cover, all to mitigate flooding. And contrary to the officer's report in response to publicity, which states public representations have raised concern regarding the flood risk to flooding, there is fact is only one on this matter. The whole of the committee of ASAPH is mute. There is no objections from highways, no objection from the city council. The schools have capacity. The Welsh Water has a little bit of needs some conditions. Otherwise, nothing there at all. The officer's report states that as a consequence of raising site levels to be flooded, to quote, this means that the ground levels within the site are proposed to be raised some 1.4 metres in the north and 1.1 metres in the south. There are those differences because the site has some hollows in it, as the people that visited the site have told us. The edges are higher, so along the row houses set back by 10 metres will have floors only 800 metres or so above pavement level. This level difference occurs in existing houses on the row already. The land rises back towards the back boundaries, so house floors would be at about the existing ground level. Detailed section drawing have been submitted and we've seen them. They came yesterday. I therefore propose site, despite NRW's concerns, because that's what it was in the letter dated the 13th of the 12th, concerns that the application for outline development, including access, be granted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Sorry, I just missed the last. Was that a proposal to?
Yes, it was.
grant
Sorry,
it?
I will therefore propose, despite NRW's concerns, because that's what they were in the letter on the 13th of December, that the application for outline development and including access be granted.
Okay, and then obviously the reason, I think I will
they've
check with the
mitigated
legal
the thing.
officers.
Yes.
Yeah, they've mitigated there's only one reason for refusal, and it's all with regard to the flood risk, and you're happy with the mitigation.
Yes,
okay,
please.
so that's a proposal. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second that, Councillor Brian Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Brian Jones. Okay, so that's been proposed and seconded. I've got, I know officers will want to come in at some point, but I'll bring in Cynghorau then Miss Wynne first.
Yeah, diolch yn fawr iawn, Cadeirydd.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just quick explanation, please. Could I refer, if I may, to the elements, affordable housing elements 4.2.9 in the reports, page 144 in the Welsh version. Local agents have, and the agents and members has local member has placed emphasis on the emphasis on the need to build more houses, and there's a local need for such a development, and we can't even strengthen that point. The development plan, as it says, currently says 10% of houses have to be affordable. If that's all to say 20%, I would be very, very happy, but I don't believe that we would be able to change it to be as firm as that. But we know nationally that they are talking now in terms of increasing the minimum of affordable houses. Would it be possible to reword or to put a condition in, please, to say that at least 10% of these units are to be affordable ones? Just to increase if the developer sees that there's an opportunity to do that, and it of course would support that local need, which, as has been shared with us today, does exist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do officers want to come in? I see Paul Mead, you got your hand up raised, or is it Paul Griffin that's going to come in?
Yeah, I'll allow Paul to come in also. Thank you, Chair. With that to everyone as well. Good morning. Yeah, this is a difficult one. I was just wanting to come in now, really, just to sort of put a bit of context to it in terms of the officer report and the officer recommendation. It is a difficult one, and I think all speakers that have spoken so far have spoken really well and have got the relevant points pretty nailed here. That includes obviously the speaker that spoke in favour of the proposal and the local member who I think covered all the relevant points very, very well there. I think what it boils down to, members, is your sort of own conscience really here in terms of making this decision. I think the benefits have been outlined from the local member there in relation to the provision of housing, and I think from the perspective of the officers, we do have to have due regard to Natural Resources Wales, clearly, and yes, you're absolutely right. There has been other examples where, on balance, we've looked at other material issues to sort of weigh against certain flood risks, certainly in the LLANDRILLO college scheme, in terms of the wider regeneration and economic benefits that would bring. And I think it is important, obviously, again, to point out here that the site in itself the raising of floor levels, the development, the layout, all those sorts of things. Officers aren't raising concerns around that. The site will remain dry in a sort of flood event and a breach of any defences. So we acknowledge that everything as possible has been done to sort of try and mitigate the impact on the proposed development. I think the fundamental issue here is if there is a flood event, what Natural Resources Wales are saying is that there could be some increased risk to existing residents living in St Asaph to the displacement of the water into their properties. So fundamentally, we're in a situation where if, you know, and heaven forbid, there is an incident in St Asaph, yes, it's acknowledged that a lot of areas of St Asaph will then flood, but the potential there is that the finger could be pointed that we have allowed a further development that has sort of exacerbated that problem in terms of existing properties within St Asaph. So that's really the issue. It is an on balance sort of recommendation that officers have put to you there. And I think we have to have regard to the fairly strong comments that have been made by Natural Resources Wales around the guidance that they provide in Technical Advice Note 15, that we have to try and prevent the increased flood risk off-site to residential properties that are already in St Asaph. And that's fundamentally what it is. Finally, Chair, I just want to say, obviously, there's been a couple of points raised there around potential conditions and affordable housing, etc. I think if members were minded to go against officer recommendation here, as we've done before, we would have to draw up a set of conditions. There might be some sort of legal agreements that might need to be put in place in relation to affordable housing further down the line. But we would obviously bring those conditions to the local member potentially and get them agreed with the local member if that's the way this debate goes. But I just wanted to sort of come in at that point just to say that we understand the issues here. We understand that the site will remain dry. It's really what Natural Resources Wales are saying to us in pretty strong terms about the impacts off-site from flood risk. So I hope that helps for now, Chair, and obviously Paul Griffin and myself can come back if there's any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep. Can I just ask the legal officer, I'm thinking it's absolutely fine what Councillor Peter Scott has said, but just from a legal point of view, the reason, obviously, there's one reason for refusal. Councillor Peter Scott has obviously given us a pretty good speech as to why that, how it can be mitigated and the reasons behind that. So are we happy with that, Tim?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Scott, just for the avoidance of doubt, can you just summarise that reason again? Thank you.
You're on mute.
Yes, I didn't expect you to come back to me.
Sorry, take your time. There's no rush. It's just part of it's just because I'm not in the chamber. Usually, I'd have had that slight conversation over. I think we're fine. It's just obviously just.
It's just an opposite basically of what they're saying. Why we to refuse? It's just I therefore propose, despite NRW's concerns, because initially on the 13th of December, they were just concerns, they sent it a letter, that the application for outline development, including access, be granted. None of the property has been decided yet. It's just an outline development anyway, Chair, isn't it? And I know Councillor Wynne was asking about what would be on the site, but we're not really decided, although it's a pictorial on the map, what could be there. It's just an outline access. So is that what you want, Paul? I'm sorry, Paul Griffin. Not Paul Griffin. Tim. Wrong person. Looking at the wrong screen.
Just expand on how there are, if any, material planning considerations that outweigh or mitigate the concerns of Natural Resources Wales in terms of flood risk. Thank you.
I think it's simply because of the plan that they've made provision for removing all the water that would be on site away back towards the road, the A525, by swales and planting and surface water management corridors. I think that is the way they've mitigated the removal of water from the site.
And you're content that can mitigate the concerns of NRW?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, do we have any other speakers on this item? Oh, Councillor Brown-Jones, I can see your hands up.
Yeah, why not? I'll say a few words. I think well, it's obviously directed with this application in mind, and also the LLANDRILLO College that Peter Scott mentioned. Well done to the speaker, Gwyn Davis. That was a well delivered piece there, so well done to you, and also to the local member, Peter Scott. But in the big picture, if we can step out briefly outside this box of this application, where we should be concentrating in the future, and we should certainly be pushing in the next corporate plan for Denbighshire, that flood risk management and land management are right up at the top of the agendas, because if we do that in Denbighshire, you will be able to make a difference to what happens in the future, even if that's 50 years down the line. If you pay attention to the detail of the land management now and put things in place, and I'm absolutely made up that Natural Resources Wales are on board with Denbighshire along with other stakeholders, that is a direction and a solution to mitigate away from potential flood in the future. Because if we don't do that, without a shadow of a doubt, there will be flood events. But if we can do it soon enough and quick enough and efficiently enough in Denbighshire, we will be able to mitigate some of the current flood risk matters. So we need to think about that and focus in on that, because I believe it's relevant points. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. If we don't have any other speakers, then I think we can go to the vote. Do officers okay for us to go to the vote? I know you said you might want to come back. I don't think any new information's come through.
No, Chair, it's just in relation to if the vote does go against officer recommendation, just an agreement in relation to how we deal with the proposed condition we would need to put on, whether we need to bring that back to planning committee or that can be agreed with the local member. Thank you, Chair. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think in this case, I would be suggesting that this goes back to the local member. I don't think this needs to come back to full committee. So unless anyone has anything to say against that, then I think the conditions can go back to the local member.
I'm happy with that, Chair. That's fine by me.
Okay. Okay. So unless we have any other comments on that, then that's what we can do. Okay. Right. So we will go to the vote. So again, just to be really, really clear on this, because it's important. If you vote for, then you are voting to grant against officer recommendation. So if you vote for, it is to grant planning permission, which would be against officer recommendation. If you vote to abstain, obviously that's abstaining. And if you vote against, that is to vote against the officer, to vote against the planning application in line with officer's recommendation. Okay, hopefully that is clear. I nearly made a mistake speaking then. So for is for the application, against is against the application. Okay, so Councillor Joan Butterfield.
I'm in favour.
In favour of the application going ahead.
For.
Yep, thank you. For. Councillor Ellie Chard.
For.
Thank you, that's 4. Councillor Ann Davis.
For.
Thank you. Cynghorydd Gwyneth Ellis.
O blaid.
For.
Diolch. Councillor Peter Evans.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Brian Jones.
For the application.
Thank you. Councillor Tina Jones.
For.
Thank you. Cynghorydd Gwyneth Kensler.
O blaid.
For.
Diolch. Councillor Christine Marston.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Melvin Mile.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Bob Murray.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Pete Prendergast.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Scott.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Thomas.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Julian Thompson Hill.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Joe Welch, I am against. Councillor Cynghorydd Emrys Wyn.
O blaid.
For.
Diolch. And
Thank you.
Councillor Mark Young.
For.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, we have 17 votes for, 1 vote against, no abstains. Therefore, that application has been granted against officer recommendation, and the conditions will come back to the local member. Thank you. Councillor Beattie Scott, have you got your hand up?
Yeah, it's just to thank everybody for listening and thank LHARD for setting me up for my speech. Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors.
Okay, thank you very much on that one. Okay, so we will continue. We've got one item left on the agenda. It is agenda item number 5. So if I just go through that briefly, it is on page 19 of our reports. Agenda item number 5, the ward is Llandrillo, the ward member is Cynghorydd Gwyneth Ellis. The application number is 07/2021/0684/PF. The proposal is the erection of a 90-metre meteorological mast for a temporary period of 3 years. Land MYNYLLOD, Llandrillo, Corwen. The applicant is a Miss Sophie Bennett-Rees, RWE Renewables. And I know Gwyneth would like to come in on this at the outset. So Cynghorydd Gwyneth Ellis, do you want to come in straight away?
Thank you
very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to propose that. Oh, sorry, I can't hear her.
Oh, Gwyneth.
She needs to turn off her camera. I can't hear her.
Gwyneth, the translator can't hear you. Sorry, so if you just turn off
the
camera.
Okay. And start again if she can.
Yeah. Dechrau unwaith eto os gwelwch yn dda.
The reason for that is that the report claims that there won't be much of an effect. Personally, having read the details in the report, I cannot see that. I'm not unable to see what type of visual effect the mast will have. There has been a mast there in the past, which was 70 meters height. This mast is going to be 90 meters, which is almost 30% higher. Also, this mast will have lights, flashing lights on it in order to warn airplanes. There are wind turbines quite close by, small ones, and they are visible from Cynwydd Village and Llandrillo as well. So I suspect that this mast will have a huge visual effect on Cynwydd and Llandrillo villages. But I would like to have an assessment of the visual effect to see whether that is true or not. If the visual assessment does show that there will be a detrimental effect, then I do also think that there should be a consultation, local consultation, a full consultation. At the moment, I believe that there has been a consultation held with a handful of neighbours to the site and with Llandrillo Community Council, but there hasn't been a consultation with Cynwydd Council or a wider consultation in the community. So yeah, those are my points for asking for deferring the application today in order to hold the assessment of the visual effect and then consult fully if the assessment shows that would be appropriate. Thank you.
Well, do we have a seconder for that?
Okay.
Yeah,
if I could come in, could I second what you've just heard from Councillor Gwyneth Ellis? We did miss the initial part of it, but I do think that we've all understood that on the basis of visual basis and lack of consultation, more wider local consultation, that the request for deferral has come in. Also, if I could draw attention to the fact that NRW have not received details.
Let's just make sure it's because we can't go into any debate about it. it's
Yeah.
probably best to, I understand what you're going to say, but I think it's going to be best just to
Right,
leave
okay.
it as it is, only because if we start getting into it, then we won't be able to defer it.
That's fine. Okay, right. I will sip my mouth up now. Diolch yn fawr.
Gwyneth, tisio dod i mewn?
Gwyneth, do you want to come back in, or you okay? Yeah. No, I'm fine now. I was going to second a lack of information. Yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Diolch yn fawr. Right, so it's going to deferral. I think officers were aware that this potential was happening, so I think they're fine with it. Step in now if officers, if you want to say anything, otherwise we'll go to the vote on this one. So again, this will be, if you vote for, it will be for deferral for the reasons that the local member, Cynghorydd Gwyneth Henless, has said. Or you can obviously vote to abstain, or you can vote against if you want the application, if you feel that there's enough information and you want the application to be heard today. Okay, so for deferral and against will be against deferral. Councillor Joan Butterfield.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Ellie Chard.
For.
Councillor Ann Davis.
Against.
Against. Okay. Cynghorydd Gwyneth Ellis.
Right.
For.
Or Blythe. Thank you. Councillor Peter Evans.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Brian Jones. Brian there.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Sorry, Brian. Can you say it again?
Yeah, it went a bit crackly wackly. So you're looking for a vote on the deferral?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, to defer, against deferring, sorry.
Against. Okay. Councillor Tina Jones.
Against.
Cynghorydd Gwyneth Kensler.
Obliged.
For.
Councillor Christine Marston.
Against.
Councillor Melvin Mile.
For.
Councillor Bob Murray.
For.
Councillor Pete Prendergast.
For.
Councillor Peter Scott.
Against.
Councillor Tony Thomas.
Against.
Councillor Julian Thompson Hill.
Against.
Cynghorydd Councillor Joe Welch. Me, I'm for. Cynghorydd Miss Wynne.
I think it said for.
Yeah,
Yes.
or Blythe, yeah. And I think Councillor Mark Young has left the meeting. He did tell me yesterday he was going to have to leave, so he's not here. Okay, so we have, again, unless officers tell me something different, we have 10 votes for and we have 7 votes against. Therefore, that application has been deferred pending further information for that. So there we go. That's it. My internet survived. All right. So there we go. Right. So that's the end. That's the end of the meeting. Don't usually end on a deferral, so it seems very, very strange. But there we go. Okay. Councillor Joan Butterfield. Yeah. Do you want the meeting? Do you want the webcast to go off, Joan, or is it something you want?
It's of no consequence, Chair.
Okay.
I just wanted. I deferred this meeting for further consultation, not for more information. The information that we had was pretty comprehensive, but I do believe I was in favour of deferral for further consultation with the community.
Okay.
That is the reason.
Okay.
And I believe you just said for more information. I just wanted to clarify that, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point and should be kept on the webcast. Yes, you're right. It was deferred for there were 2 reasons, and certainly the further consultation was one of them. Yes, apologies for that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
If we're all happy, right? Thank you very much, and see you next month.
See you next month. Thank you.